lily pad garden, then playing mini golf around the corner. Sometimes, based on the interests in her profile, I'll do something different, like going to a museum or the planetarium. I met this great girl and we really hit it off. Based on her profile, I thought she would love the South American exhibit at the local museum, so we went there for our first date. We got banana splits afterwards and I thought it was a pretty good date. I was looking forward to seeing her again. She had some work stuff that I had some work stuff, but after like 3 weeks we made it happen. We were going to see a movie and go eat at a little restaurant, but she was 30 minutes late. We just went to go eat. She spent the first 10 minutes talking shit about the last guy she dated that took her to a stupid museum, then out for a banana split. She itched that her last date was too cheap to buy her dinner like a real man. She kept talking and talking and talking. I excused myself from the table, paid for my drink and half the appetizer, and left. Blocked her on the app and phone. On a first date, Starbucks was super crowded, so we sat in his car and chatted. He asked if I wanted to watch a movie in the car. I said sure, but I wasn't really paying attention. We talked some more and suddenly I started hearing this moaning. Yeah. He put on porn. I was shocked and asked him what the hell he was thinking. He then whipped out his big dick and asked me to suck it. Nope. Done. Called me 2 weeks later and asked why he hadn't heard back from me. Edit. It. So much Seinfeld. We met outside of one of my favorite restaurants. She was texting on her phone, shook my hand, and barely looked up. We get seated all the while still on her phone texting. So I asked her normal date things to only get yes and eventually a hold on a second after my third attempt at striking up any sort of conversation. I asked if everything was okay. I figured after the hold on a second comment something bad might have happened. She responded by saying her friends are a priority. I was kind of taken back. Our waitress walks up right after that and she cuts her off as she's greeting us with a huffy finally. Then barks her drink order at her about as rudely as possible and goes right back to her phone. I asked for water, said excuse me, and got up after about a minute of silence. I found the waitress, gave her a 20, and said I was leaving and apologized. Quickest date of my life. All in 10-15 minutes max. I've never met anyone close to that rude on a date in my life. I always tell myself I got all my bad dates in one. Here's to hoping that's true. I knew this girl for like 2 years from college and had a huge crush on her, but we were best friends. I ran out and asked her if she wanted to grab a coffee with me as a date. So we were talking and she started telling me about all the guys she stalked, which I don't give a duck about. I also dated during that period, but I wouldn't brag about it to her. Anyway, she started saying that if she started dating me I would probably be the ugliest guy she was ever with and she would be embarrassed when sometimes people get the wrong idea about us. I almost started to cry. I love this girl so much and that really hurt my pride. We were best friends and she usually wasn't like that. I told her my feelings and just left. This was recently and I don't know what to do. I walked out even before the date started because my date brought his friend with him. They arrived in a car and asked me to jump in. We were on our second date. He bought me 2 beers. A slow song was playing and he wanted to slow dance. As soon as we hit the floor he wanted to shove his tongue down my throat. I said I just wanted to dance and talk, get to know each other. His response? Well, I just bought you 2 beers. I walked off the dance floor, put cash on the table to cover my beerette and walked out the door. Yuck. The whole I bought you a drink, you owe me thing needs to die. It's disgusting. Honestly, I was shocked. Not to sound superficial, but my friend set us up because he was a writer and she knew I liked smart guys. I dated enough regular good guys to know he was a creep. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I went straight to my local bar because I was so pissed. When I itched about the incident to the locals there, every guy in the place said, "I'll buy you a beer, no strings attached." I forgot how good it felt to have that kind of backup. Halfway through her actual date showed up. Then he realizes what's happened. Make her leave and you guys go for laser tag and become bros. He said I normally don't really date girls that I don't find attractive, so feel special. Well, goodbye. He took out his pen 15 randomly without warning while we were hiking at 2 PM on a Sunday on a busy trail with lots of families around. I was just like, I gotta go. And he was genuinely curious why, so I had to explain to him as we were hiking back up the trail towards the parking lot about how indecent exposure is against the law. I cringed so hard thinking that this is a real person out in the world. On the 4th date she tells me the real reason she changed jobs. She used to be a prison guard and had cancer, so all the medical stuff forced her change of work. Now she works as a nurse. This is important. She tells me in a totally casual way that because of having cancer she felt like she needed to let go and be exciting, so she started dating 2 prisoners that were there. She used to smuggle them in cell phones and other stuff. Asked her how out of pure morbid curiosity, and she tells me women have natural pockets that fit lots of stuff. Then tells me she was caught because someone walked in on them having sex in his cell and the other inmate she was dating got jealous and turned them in. Said the reason she wasn't in jail was because the psychologist testified she was in an altered mental state because of the cancer. She went to the bathroom and I promptly ran like hell. She called me every day for 2 weeks before giving up. Didn't even get as far as the date. I met a girl on the weekend at a table quiz in a pub. She was a friend of my cousin who I was there to fill out a team with. Myself and herself swapped numbers and got talking during the week, and I asked her on a date for coffee. Scheduled for the Saturday. On the Friday she told me that if I loved her and wanted this relationship to work I should bring her on holidays and to hotels and stuff. I told her I wasn't going to be meeting her for coffee the following day and haven't seen her since. She was ignoring me, being rowdy, and eventually spilled my full glass of ice water on my lap. We hadn't even received our food at that point, so I asked the waitress to box it up because I was leaving. I couldn't handle it anymore. I had enough. Especially after the car ride to the restaurant. Next time date night will be just my husband and I. The toddler will stay with grandma. Kids sometimes. SMH. She had my number saved as call for food. This one made me laugh out loud. Sorry. Girl bragged about purposely finding and trying to hit and kill cats. Duck that. Faked going to the restroom and called a cab. Best part was that it was a double date. My buddy John went to the bathroom with me and bailed too. Also her psycho friend chimed in that she did the same sheet. Also they both bragged about their pill addictions. Peaced out quick. Mine didn't even turn into a date. I bowled on a team once a week and chatted with a guy that came in the same nights with his family. We finally made a date. And as soon as I got in his car he asked me to marry him. He pulled a ring out of the glove compartment and said he was in the Navy and was scheduled to be relocated to Germany in 2 weeks. I was shocked and scared. Told him he was nice and I would write to him, but it was just weird. I never heard from him again. She showed up late. Spoke in one-word answers. Stared at her phone and texted other people. Yelled at the waiter for filling her water too much. I finished my food. Placed a $20 on the table. Walked out. Then blocked her on my phone. I would say I don't think she even noticed. But I was her ride home. Guy from the gym asked me out for coffee. We hit it off and walked to the beach afterwards. We sit on a wall watching the ocean and he tells me he gives amazing foot rubs and insists on giving me one. Takes off my flip flop and is really into my feet. Toes go into his mouth and I noped out. That's happened to me once, except I wasn't on a date. I was at my local pool. I was sitting over the edge with my feet in the water. This guy starts talking to me who's in the pool. Then someone distracts me. I look away and the next thing I know my toes are in his mouth. I ran away. I was 16. Showed up drunk. Said I was her third date of the day. Was racist towards the Indian waiter. I didn't order a drink. I got walked out on in a Valentine's date. She was yelling at the waitress about wing sauce. There wasn't enough on the wings. I told her she was making an ass out of herself and she walked out. We met at a PF Chang's. She was 20 minutes late without any attempt to communicate that she would be late. After introducing myself, she spoke non-stop for the next 15ish minutes. She covered such topic as her horrible family, her horrible job and her horrible ex-BF. I threw money on the table and walked out. Didn't offer an explanation. Just bounced. She screamed some unintelligible shit at me while I walked out. Blocked her number. Thin. First date should never be for a sit-down dinner. Make it something cheap and casual so if after 15 minutes, you can just go if you need to. Agreed. Grab a drink. If it is going well then order another. A dinner seems like a terrible idea for a first date. Also looks pretty serious. I ditched the date at the bar we were at after she told me she got mad at her ex over basically nothing and then proceeded to ruin his mint classic car. She also casually mentioned being arrested over something else related to aggressive behavior. I would have remembered what it was she did had I not checked out right then and there. Faked going to the restroom. Then promptly paid my tab and left. Why would you think that that's even a thing to tell someone on a first date? Met at a cafe. Actually walked toward the wrong dude. Similar haircut. Blurry photos. We realized what happened and laughed it off. Told the real dude about it when he showed up and he was not amused. Strike one. That's hilarious. Got coffee. Sat in a nearby public park. He brags about his career in professional gambling. Looks surprised I know some basic easy details. Insults his friends. Lets me know ahead of time he parked his car and has to move it. Fair enough. I offer to walk toward it and stand there while he moves around the block. Parking is tough here. Walks me a mile. Passing many open parking places. To under an overpass. Still bright out but this is weird. Car is a large windowless white van in which he reveals he is currently sleeping because his roommate has sexiled him semi-permanently. I don't buy it. It becomes clear he wants me to get in the van to help move it. At this point I let him know that I don't think I'm getting in there. But thanks. Quick hug goodbye. Leave. He's incredulous. Doesn't push it. Drives off. To his credit he texts later in the day apologizing for creeping me out. Went out with a woman I met on a website. In the photos I didn't have glasses on because of the glare but fully disclosed that I was blind as a bat. I was also clean shaven in the photos. Within 10 minutes of meeting she started in on how if I wanted to continue to see her I'd need to get contacts and shave off the 5 o'clock shadow. We talked for a few days before going on a date. And I told him that 1. I'm pretty low-key and don't like being the center of attention. And 2. I hate karaoke with every fiber of my being. So he decided to surprise me by taking me to a karaoke bar. He said that he wanted to push me out of my comfort zone and expand my horizons. Then he signed me up to sing. I walked out as soon as the KJ called my name. I'll expand my own horizons. Time. She wanted to order some water to drink and after asking me who would pay. Which of course I was going to do. She switched her drink to something more expensive. I didn't think much of it at the time but as she was being very rude for the rest of the date I left and realized I should have left when she changed her order after realizing I would pay. She brought a baby names book she just happened to pick up on the way to meeting up with me and asked what I thought of the name Summer for a baby girl. Went to TGI's. She sent back a cocktail 3 times saying it isn't right. Gave me a spiel that I had to order for her. Weird. Waiter came and I ordered what she asked for. Chicken quesadillas. Got kicked under table by her and said WTF to her. Waiter awkwardly left and she said she wanted a burger. I replied that she never said that. It's no biggie. I'll go ask waiter to change it. She went apeshit. Caused a big scene. I feigned going to toilet. Luckily didn't have a jacket. Slipped waiter money to which he said he'll just void the order and to go quickly. She chased me shouting through the streets for 1 kilometer. I had an iPhone at time so couldn't block her number. Went to dinner and a movie with a female coworker who had been expressing a lot of interest in me. After a very flirtatious dinner we get to the theater and run into another male coworker, whom she apparently invited. I'm thinking WTF is this sheet? We sit down and she lays her head against my shoulder. Holds my hand, so I'm thinking okay, maybe this is just kind of an odd thing because she's all over me, so whatever, and then halfway through the movie she switches up and rapes herself over him. I know where some of you might be thinking she was going with this, but I'm very certain she wasn't looking for a three-way. I'm not all that invested in her, so I don't just bail. You know. I paid to see the movie, so duck it, I'm going to watch it. So the movie ends and we get to the lobby and she heads to the bathroom, leaving the two of us guys there to wait for her. And I just turn to him, put my hand on his shoulder and tell him, dude, she is all yours, and take my ducking leave. After working there a while I could see she suffered from princess syndrome, where we were supposed to prostrate ourselves in competition for her affection and cheapen our value in order to affirm hers. Nah thanks. It was toward the end of the date. She decided to confess she was a convicted sex offender who had 2 months earlier been released from prison of 2 years. She got busted giving BJs to teenage boys in a group home. I all of a sudden had to go and nope the hell out of the coffee shop. Told him from the get-go I wasn't available. I like social swing dancing, so he told me the address of a place he goes to Saturdays. And I said I'd go there. I get there. I'm so glad you agreed to go out with me, and wants to change his FB status. We were sitting in a movie and he put his hand on my thigh. I didn't want him to put his hand on my thigh, so I very gently took his hand and removed it. He moved it back. I moved it away. He moved it back. I told him to stop touching my leg. He laughed and put his hand even higher on my thigh. I grabbed my sheet, left, and he followed me into the lobby of the theater, acting like he had no clue why I was upset. I had to raise my voice and cause a slight scene to get him to stop following me. Good times. Sigh.